makes it was all about Square Enix yesterday, and I feel like I want to talk about this because I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm a little bit of a Square Enix fanboy over here. I don't know if you can tell or anything like that. So yeah, initially the first thing I saw come out yesterday was that Square Enix made a profit for the first time. They were able to turn over a profit from their video games and from their AAA titles and all that, like Final Fantasy Tactics, like everything else that came out during the year. And that was essentially, oh, cool. It's good that you can tell, Vision. So initially I was like, okay, this is going to be a good day. And they said that they've got a 3-year strategy planned out where they're going to do some restructuring. And after that, they're going to be pushing out major title after major title. Like we're talking Final Fantasy VII Part 3. We're talking Kingdom Hearts 4. We're talking Dragon Quest 12. We're talking all those games that people have been asking for and, banging on their door about every 12 seconds. But then the news kept coming out because apparently they had a big meeting yesterday and they released their yearly report or quarterly report or whatever. And that's when more news came out. It's like they said that within that restructuring, they want to turn to AI to do at least 70% of their Q&A testing. And within that restructuring, they also let about 180 people go from their Western studios. The Japanese studios, they didn't touch those. But yeah. So it got me to thinking, like a lot of people, of course, when layoffs happen within the industry, it's like everyone condemns a developer. And of course, it's easy to do that. It's easy to come out and say that like, oh, they're money hungry and they want to turn to AI and they don't believe in people anymore. And but for me, I went a little bit deeper into this because I've been living with Square Enix for such a long time. I've been following them so closely and every single move that they make from like the early 2000s or even before that, from the late 90s. I've been stuck to this company like glue and waiting for the next major title to come out. And because you anticipate these titles to come out and you're so like, you follow the company whether you want to or not. Like you take every morsel of news, like companies restructuring. This person is going to be the director of the new Final Fantasy game. This person is going to work on Kingdom Hearts. You read the news whether you want to or not because it affects your favorite games. So because I've been following Square Enix so closely, I don't know, I saw this news and I've been a little bit, I don't know, layoffs with other developers, right? Like, I don't know, Bethesda or Microsoft or all that, who want to go with AI. That, to me, because I don't really know what goes on with Microsoft or with all those other companies, but with Square Enix, I can tell you, I do know some more things. I haven't worked at Square Enix, but I follow Square Enix a lot. Like, I read up on their news. I know what's going on. Like, whenever something big happens, I'm there to read up about it. I go a little bit more in depth. So that's why I feel like it's a little bit unfair for people to just, people online are always going to say what they want to say, right? But it's a little bit unfair for people to just come out and hammer them and be like, oh, you just want to go with AI. You don't want to pay people anymore. You don't want to pay your people anymore or your workers or you. I don't feel that's the case. I don't feel that's the case with Square Enix because they did a lot of investments throughout the years, like especially, and they did a lot of restructuring and they did a lot of research into how they could reach into, like how they could better sell their games to Western audiences. But I feel like, especially with Final Fantasy and with some other franchises and some other investments that they made, none of it worked. Like, maybe they made some sales here and there, but for them, it never hit their sales expectations. Like, you would always see it in all of their reports. They sort of try to downplay it, but it will always be like, Final Fantasy VII Remake does not hit sales target. Final Fantasy 16 does not hit sales target. Tomb Raider does not hit sales target. Although with Tomb Raider, things went a little bit better. But there were so many games, game after game after game, that Square Enix released that it did not hit their target. It did not hit it did not exceed their anticipation or even reach that anticipation, right? They felt that they're not doing enough to, be as successful as they wanted to be, as they hoped to be, right? Square Enix never reached the level of a Bethesda, of I don't know, who can I say here? Of an EA, who else makes RPGs? Like even Atlas. I feel like recently even Atlas and Sega, who made the Persona franchises and what was its name? Metaphor ReFantazio. Even they have been doing better. Even their RPGs, or like when a developer like a double A or a particularly new developer, an indie studio, that's the word I'm looking for, comes out and makes a game, and everyone's like, oh, this game is so much better than Final Fantasy, and it even sells better than Final Fantasy. I'm talking about Clair Obscur. Well, then Square Enix, a game that has been investing so heavily into good video games, but they don't even sell like 1 million copies. They don't, like, it's hard for them to. How are they supposed to maintain all these people? Like they're investing so hard and like they're paying so many people, but when their products don't sell, they can't keep them. It's hard for them to maintain all these investments. When you make an investment, you need to have a return on that investment. Like if not make as much, if not make more, you need to make as much to keep yourself going. But if you're not doing that, and if you're constantly selling, yeah, exactly, it is unfortunate. If you're constantly selling lower, if you're going lower than what you're putting, it's basic finance, right? This is basic finances for any company. Like you make an investment to create a company. If what you're creating is selling lower than what you invested, eventually something's got to go. And this something, unfortunately, was the investments that they made into the Western studios. And that's why this news has come about, that they're going to have to let go of over 100 people in, like, I don't know, Square Enix London, Square Enix, the US studios, I don't know, all over the world. It is unfortunate, but when people come out and they say, I don't want to play Final Fantasy 16 because it's action element, it's action based, and I don't like action, I want turn based. Or when the other person comes out and says, I don't want to play Final Fantasy 7 Remake because it has the what do you call them, the shadows, and the story takes away too much, it's not exactly the same as the original, so I'm not going to buy it. But when you don't buy those games, when you turn your back on a company that, needs your support, and when the company doesn't make the money it needs to keep going, well, yes, eventually something bad is going to happen. It's not all, sugar and rainbows, unfortunately. I wish that those people could stay employed, of course, naturally, but I can understand why they can't keep their jobs, they can't maintain their jobs. It's sad. It's sad, but I don't blame the company. I don't blame the company because I've seen how much they've been trying, Like, even with Eidos Interactive, when they created and Crystal Dynamics, when they created the Tomb Raider franchise, which was really good, and it sold really well, admittedly. But then they created Marvel as well, the Avengers game. That didn't sell well, that was heavily criticized. So many things, And Square Enix has always been accused that, other than Final Fantasy XIV, which has received such heavy praise, and everyone's been saying that Naoki Yoshida should take over freaking Square Enix, the whole of it, he should be named president. But other than that, it's like all of their games have been selling lower than expected, much lower than expected. Like if they invested, like, I don't know, say $20 million in Final Fantasy 16. I'm just saying a figure. I don't know if that's how much they put in. But if they put in $20 million to create Final Fantasy 16, and I'm not just talking the development side, I'm talking the marketing side as well, the advertisements and all of that, and they got back 5, where are they going to give that 5? Like, how are they going to fill in those holes? So those holes get filled in from the budget of the company itself, or they create holes, So in order to fill those gaps, they have to start cutting off strings. The first sign was when they let go of Crystal Dynamics. Crystal Dynamics was a studio that was created by Square Enix, but then it became its own thing, and now it's independent. I think it was picked up by someone else. But that was the first sign, and I could tell. For me personally, I could have told you that there were going to be layoffs in Square. And if things don't improve, like if Final Fantasy VII Part 3 doesn't sell well, and I can tell you right now that the expectation, now that it's going to become a multi-platform title, the expectation are through the roof. Like, they probably want 10 million copies of that game alone. They're probably needing 10 million games of that game alone. Like, the pressure on Hamaguchi and his team is so on right now. Like, he must be feeling it, that poor guy. Like, he's probably traveling around the world doing, like, trying to sell the game, trying to get people sold on it, trying to get them on the hype train. And at the same time, he's trying to create it, and there is so much pressure on. And he hasn't even announced it. They haven't even announced the game yet, right? It's just people know that it's coming. So, yeah. Yeah, they're probably like, if this game does not sell... I'm not talking about the whole trilogy, right? Just the third part. Hey, King Desert Loner, how you going? So, yeah. I'm just talking about the Square Enix layoffs that were announced yesterday before we start playing the game. So yeah, if the third game, I'm assuming that, and it's not because they want it, they want to have the target so high, or they're smug or anything like that, right? It's just that that's how much they're invested. That's how much they've invested into it. And they probably thought that, like, okay, so people have been harping on and on about a Final Fantasy VII remake for the last 20 years. So if we create it, people will buy it, right? Right? But then people didn't buy it. Why? Because they changed it up a little bit, because the story wasn't exactly the same, or because people had hyped it up so much in their brain, and it wasn't exactly as people thought it would be. It was a teensy bit different. So people were like, oh, you suck. This game sucks. It's terrible. How dare you change things? I didn't think Tifa was going to be like that. I wanted Tifa to be like that. And I wanted Aerith to come back to life. Why didn't you bring Aerith back to life? And so people created all these insane expectations about what a Final Fantasy VII remake was supposed to be to them. And now the game is not living up to their own hype. So they're not buying it out of a form of protest. But that protest comes back and it blows up into the developers' faces. You can't please everyone. But that's what Square Enix is dealing with. The fact that they can't please everyone is coming back to hurt the workers. That's what people aren't understanding. It's like, okay, I understand you're complaining with your wallet, and yes, we respect that. But that form of protesting has an impact on people's lives. It has an impact on people's day-to-day life, you know? And not only on them, it has a ripple effect on their families as well. Because, okay, you don't want to buy Final Fantasy VII because it's not the game you expected. Okay. So because you don't want to do that, now the company has to fire a whole bunch of people, and now those people are going to have to go and find jobs somewhere else or create their own studios, I don't know, whatever. And until then, they're going to have to dig into their own savings, or they're going to have to borrow money from somewhere else, and I'm saying that's on the positive side, right? Anyway, those were just my 2 cents about the whole situation, because I don't feel that Square Enix is entirely to blame about this situation. Anyway, that's my opinion as someone who's been following the company for all these years. Of course, everyone else is entitled to their own opinion. You could come out and say, no, they could have done a bit more to hold on to those people, or they could have fired less, and they shouldn't turn to AI. Okay, yeah, that's your opinion, and I will respect that. But as someone who's been following the company closely all this time, I can tell you that they did a lot of research, a lot of investments to try to get people to come closer. Didn't work. Especially people in the West, they turned their back on them massively. Massively. Square Enix made a shit ton of games in the last 5 years alone. How many of them sold? How many of them hit their sales targets? I don't know. That's something I can't answer. The only thing I can tell you is that I've seen repeated posts or news articles with Square Enix saying, or devs or people from the company saying, that game did not hit expectations. And people underneath saying, but what were your expectations? Aren't they a bit insane? And I can tell you that those expectations, those targets are not created because people within the company are crazy or because they're money hungry. They're created based on how much they actually put into developing those games. So if you put in that much, if you put in like this much, you expect to get back at least this much to say that you've made a profit. You don't just want to get back. You don't just want to get back as much as you put in. You need to get back a little bit more because you need to pay your investors. You need to pay back the companies that advertised into your game. You need to pay back, of course, the people who worked on it. There's so many people to pay. That's what people don't understand. It's like they think that a company creates a video game and that's it. They just sit back racking the profits. It does not work like that. There are so many things to consider, especially for AAA companies, these days. It's insane. It's insane. And that's why I'm saying that for Square Enix to have to make this harsh decision to let people go, I feel it's what's the word I want to use here? It's understandable. I'm not going to say justified. It's never justified to have to do this, but it's understandable.